Marcus Webb had not cried since the day his wife Emma left. Not at the funeral, not at the hospital, not even when his 5-year-old daughter Lily asked him why Mommy wasn't coming home from heaven for Christmas. He had trained himself to be a wall, solid, immovable, because walls don't crumble, and if he crumbled, who would catch Lily? So he stood every morning in front of the bathroom mirror, straightened his tie, and told himself the same lie. I'm fine. He had been telling it for 2 years, and he was starting to almost believe it. What he never expected was that a stranger's act of quiet kindness would be the thing that finally broke him open, in the best possible way. If you believe in kindness and second chances, hit that like button right now, drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from, share this with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to the Kindness channel. This one's for every person who thought their chapter was over. It isn't. Let's get into it. Marcus worked as a floor supervisor at Hartwell Foods, a mid-sized grocery distribution company in Columbus, Ohio. He wasn't management. He wasn't climbing any ladder. He drove a 7-year-old Honda, packed Lily's lunch every morning with a little note folded inside, a tiny drawing of a sun, because Emma used to do it, and he clocked in and out like clockwork. His world was small, and he had made peace with small. The CEO of Hartwell Foods was a woman named Diana Hartwell, granddaughter of the founder, 43 years old, sharp as a blade, and, according to company rumor, completely untouchable. Nobody really knew much about her personal life. She arrived early, left late, remembered every employee's name without looking at a file, and had a habit of walking the warehouse floor unannounced just to see how things actually ran. Most people were terrified of her. Marcus had spoken to her exactly once, 3 months after Emma passed, when Diana had quietly approved his request for a flexible schedule so he could pick Lily up from kindergarten without losing his job. She hadn't made a production of it. She'd just signed it, handed it back, and said, "Family first, Mr. Webb. Always." He had never forgotten that. What Marcus didn't know was that Diana hadn't forgotten him either. She had seen him over the months. Not in a way she could explain easily, but she noticed things. The way he helped the new guys without being asked. The way he stayed late when a shipment came in wrong even though it wasn't his problem. The way he once sat with a crying seasonal worker in the break room for 20 minutes. Just listening, saying nothing. Diana had built a company, managed hundreds of people, navigated boardrooms full of men who underestimated her. And in all of that, she had learned one thing above everything else. Character is what a person does when they think no one is watching. Marcus Webb had character in abundance. So when her college roommate Patricia called her one evening complaining that her cousin was lonely and needed to get out and live again, and Diana thought of Marcus, she surprised even herself. It started as a small idea, just a nudge. She mentioned it to Patricia, who thought it was wonderful. Patricia reached out to Marcus through a mutual contact at the company, presenting it simply as a blind date set up by a friend of a friend. Marcus said no the first time, said he wasn't ready. Said Lily needed him. Patricia, bless her heart, called him back a week later and said, "Your daughter needs to see her father live, Marcus. That's what she needs." That hit somewhere deep, and he said yes. He arranged for his neighbor Mrs. Calloway to watch Lily for the evening. He ironed a blue shirt. He drove to a quiet Italian restaurant on the east side called Alonzo's, where he'd been told to ask for a reservation under the name Patricia's Friend. He sat down, he ordered water, he checked his phone twice, he straightened his fork, and then the door opened. Marcus looked up, and his entire body went still. Diana Hartwell walked in wearing a simple burgundy dress and an expression he had never seen on her face before. Not the CEO face, not the boardroom face. Something quieter, vulnerable even. She was scanning the restaurant, and then her eyes landed on him, and they both froze in the exact same way. The way two people freeze when the universe just did something neither of them asked for and neither of them can immediately process. She recovered first. She walked over. She sat down across from him. For a full 10 seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Marcus said, "Miss Hartwell," and she said, "Marcus, and please, it's Diana. Tonight I'm just Diana." The first 20 minutes were almost comically awkward. They both laughed about it, which helped. He admitted Patricia had called him twice to get him here. Diana admitted she had originally thought this was a terrible idea. They ordered bread. They ordered wine. And then something strange and wonderful happened. They started talking, really talking, the way two people talk when they've both been carrying something heavy for a long time, and they're just tired of carrying it alone. She told him about building back this company after her father ran it into near bankruptcy, about the years she spent pouring everything into work because it was safer than people, about the engagement that ended 8 years ago when her fiancé told her he didn't want to come second to a spreadsheet. She laughed when she said it, but her eyes didn't. He told her about Emma, about the aneurysm that came without warning on a Tuesday morning, about how Lily still sometimes set a place at the table for her mom, about the sun drawings in the lunchbox. He hadn't talked about Emma to anyone outside of his mother, and here he was telling a woman he worked for about folded paper suns, and it didn't feel strange. It felt like relief, like setting down something heavy and realizing you'd forgotten what your own hands felt like empty. Diana listened with the kind of attention that is rare, where the other person makes you feel like what you're saying matters more than anything else in the room. By the time dessert came, they had forgotten the awkwardness entirely. By the time the check came, neither of them wanted to leave. Outside on the sidewalk in the cold Ohio air, Marcus said quietly, "I didn't expect tonight." Diana looked at him with an expression that was honest and a little unguarded, and she said, "I didn't either, but I think maybe that's exactly why I arranged it." He looked at her. "You arranged it?" She didn't flinch. "I saw who you were, Marcus, long before tonight. I just thought maybe you needed someone to see it." He stood there for a moment, in the cold and the quiet, and for the first time in 2 years the wall he had built so carefully began to soften. Not collapse, not shatter, just soften, the way ice does in early spring when the air starts to remember warmth. "That might be the kindest thing anyone has done for me in a long time," he said. "Then I hope it's not the last," she said. They walked to their separate cars. They both drove home. And that night Marcus Webb sat in the dark kitchen after checking on Lily, and he picked up a piece of paper and drew a small sun. Not for Lily's lunchbox, but just for himself, just to remember that light was something you could choose to make, even in the dark. 3 weeks later, Diana met Lily. Lily shook her hand very formally and said, "My dad says you're important. Are you important?" Diana crouched down to eye level and said, "I try to be. Are you?" Lily thought about it with the gravity only 5-year-olds can summon and said, "Yes, I think so." "Good," Diana said. "Me too." Marcus watched from across the room and felt something he had not felt in 2 years settle quietly into his chest. Not urgency, not need, not desperation, just warmth. Simple, ordinary, extraordinary warmth. It didn't happen all at once. These things never do when they're real. But it happened, steadily and gently, and with the kind of grace that comes when two people decide to show up for each other, not because life is easy, but because connection, real connection, is worth every uncomfortable, inconvenient, beautiful risk. Diana never made it a news story inside the company. She never leveraged it, never made it political or public. She simply, quietly continued to lead with decency, and loved a man who packed lunchboxes with sun drawings, because she understood by then that the most powerful thing a person can do is choose to see someone, truly see them, and then do something about it. Marcus Webb stopped telling himself he was fine. He was better than fine. He was, for the first time in a long time, actually, genuinely, fully alive. And in Lily's lunchbox the very next Monday, there were 2 suns. If this story moved you even a little, if it reminded you that kindness is never wasted, that it's never too late for a second chapter, and that sometimes the most extraordinary things come disguised as ordinary Tuesday evenings, please give this video a like, leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from, share this with someone in your life who needs a reminder that good things still happen, and subscribe to the Kindness channel. We tell stories that matter, about people who choose humanity over everything else. Don't miss a single one. We'll see you in the next story.